I don't remember. I'm glad you brought up the businessman story because that relates to what we're going to talk about later.
It does. I don't feel like any of this is actually going to make it in, though.
Well, you never know. I hear some shows, they like open up like almost in the middle of things, and there's like a little banter, and then they start. Okay, we're starting. And then you can say, what do you say usually at the beginning of every episode?
I introduce the show. I say, I'm sorry. Allow me. Welcome to And.Fake.Action, the movie podcast with Phil and Dustin.
I'm Phil.
And I'm Dustin. How are you? You doing all right?
Are you asking me or the listeners? The listeners can't answer you. I'm doing great. How are you, Dustin?
Fantastic. Yes, I was speaking to you.
Well, the tone of it kind of made it seem
fair enough. I am interested in how our listeners are doing. I want them to be well, but I know that they can't answer me in real time. But if you'd like to send us an email, that would be fine, letting us know how you're doing. That'd be cool. We can read it on the air, one of our future episodes.
Well, Dusty and I are here to record a short introduction. Oh, Dustin and I are here. So I've been calling him Dusty for a lot of years, but I've also have to call him Dustin for a lot of years too. So Dustin and I are here to introduce our podcast.
Yes.
Here it is. You're listening to it right now.
It's called And.Fake.Action.
This is it.
The movie podcast with Phil and Dustin. As you might have suspected, it's about movies. Specifically, Phil and I talking about them. That's fun.
Yes. So if you enjoy listening to people talk about movies, then this is the podcast for you. I think it's a pretty unique niche here. We could carve out something that, is pretty unique. I don't know how many other podcasts there are of people talking about movies.
Probably almost none.
I mean, maybe there's 5 or 6 of them if you dig deep enough in the thing.
Well, here's what I've noticed with a lot of those the movie-related podcasts is that they're either talking about new movies or they're talking about very genre-specific movies. But we are just kind of talking about whatever movie we've decided to talk about. So it could be an old movie, could be a new movie, could be a horror movie, could be a comedy, could be a drama, could be an action. There's no predicting. There's no
way to know, no way to tell.
It's anarchy up in this mug.
Right, anarchic. And it could be a movie we like. It could be a movie we don't like. It could be a movie one of us likes and the other one doesn't like.
True stuff, man.
I'm not sure we are going to want to go there, but we might.
Well, you never know.
We should.
It might be interesting.
It might be.
Yeah.
It might be our last episode.
This might be our last episode.
No. So should we tell the listeners a little bit about ourselves? So we're Phil and Dusty, and we've known each other for a little while.
We're Phil and Dustin.
Okay, this whole thing is terrible. I gotta say Dustin.
Do I need to wear a name tag?
Yes. Do you have a Blockbuster Video name tag?
I in fact do. It's sitting right over there.
So Dustin and I both spent some time working at Blockbuster Video back in the day.
Yes.
And that was just one chapter in our long story of liking and enjoying movies.
I'm not going to say it's our fault they went under.
No.
But there's no proving that it wasn't.
So we've known each other since high school, actually. And we have a group of friends, and we would go to the movie theater quite often and see movies, and we would rent movies and watch movies at home quite often as well. And we get
Yep.
I was going to start talking about how we talk in our first episode about how we got into movies, but we haven't introduced the concept of there's already been a first episode.
This is something that we'll go ahead and mention right now. This is not our first recording, although it might be hard to tell.
It sounds like it.
We've actually recorded about 5 podcasts so far. So we got 5 in the can that we are getting ready to unleash upon the unsuspecting masses. But we decided this was a good opportunity for us to sit down and just do a little short mini episode and talk about what you can expect from future episodes.
We had the technological means and motivation to sit down together and choose some movies to talk about and record our discussions about them. All the while we were doing that, we were researching and deciding how to actually publish the podcast, to actually get it out. So we're finally nearing the point where we're going to publish our podcast episode. So we thought we would record this little introduction.
Yeah. In fact, if you're listening to this now, we've actually gotten to the point to where we're publishing things. So,
obviously, if you're listening.
Yeah. So there you go. We are killing it.
But yeah, so
dude.
in our first episode, we do get into a little bit about how Dustin and I got into movies and sort of our kind of a childhood formative sort of experiences.
In our youth, we were known to get out the old video camera.
So we were tape makers,
skits,
filmmakers.
Essentially.
This was a VHS camcorder we're talking about.
Yes.
If that dates us.
It absolutely 100% does. If you don't know what a VHS camcorder is, you would use a video cassette tape, which was roughly the size of a cinder block. And you would put that into another larger apparatus that you would have to rest upon your shoulder because it was so unwieldy. Those were the days, man.
Yes, and we made these short little films with them, movies, and they were usually little action scenes or comedy sketches of the comedy sketch variety to varying degrees of success. But I'm glad we're bringing this up because this has to do with the name of our podcast and where we got that from.
You don't say.
I do.
Wow.
So when you're shooting a short movie on a VHS camcorder, you've got to shoot everything in sequence. You've got to go, shot by shot in order. Mm-hmm. And you got to get it right because if you shoot a shot and something goes wrong,
you have to rewind it and hope you don't go too far or not far enough,
and
then you get really weird
over
glitches.
The last shot. Yeah.
And if you don't have a flying erase head, then you get that weird rainbow thing. Man, this is taking me back. But yeah, so as Phil mentioned, we had to do rehearsals before we would record anything.
So we would rehearse our shots, and the cameraman would have to rehearse his movements too. And before we thought we got it down good enough, and we would do it for real. So sometimes the actors, before we would start a take, they would say, "Hey, is this one for real?" I said, "No, this one's fake." So we say, "And.Fake.Action."
So when we were trying to decide what would be a good name, something somewhat appropriate for Phil and I talking about movies, that one eventually rose to the top.
We chose to pick something that no one would understand what it means unless you listen to this and we explained it to you.
Because that's just good marketing.
Right. So we hope you enjoy our podcast, and we hope I covered everything I wrote down in my handy little outline notebook that I wrote down in front of me.
Why don't you check that out? It's right there in front of you.
Yes. We talked about all these different things already. Sounds great.
So in addition to us having these episodes, we also have engaged social media on our behalf. So we have a few locations that you can visit for more information down the road, or if we have things we decide we'd like to share, like links or more information about movies or episodes that we have done. We will have a Facebook presence. We have a Twitter presence, we have a TikTok, and we will have a YouTube as well. And we will have links to all of those on this page for you to peruse at your leisure.
And please enjoy in your leisure time listening to our podcast as we talk about movies and other related topics.
Yes.
We think it's going to be great.
We think it's going to be okay. No, hopefully we'll have some fun, and hopefully you'll have some fun too. If you like movies, this is a good podcast for you. If you like listening to two dudes you don't really know talk about movies, then this is the perfect podcast for you.
But over time, you'll feel like you're getting to know us.
And I will apologize for that in advance. Well, I think we've covered all our bases, everything we need to say. Hopefully we've whetted your appetite and you are eager to come back for more when the full-length episodes are unleashed. So until then, I just want to say thank you for listening, and thank you for listening in the future.
Thank you for listening in advance, yes.
Absolutely. So this has been
Phil
and Dustin for And.Fake.Action, the movie podcast
with Phil
and Dustin.
Is that what I'm supposed to say?
No, you're just a